Kia ora, I'm Whanana Efeso Collins, and welcome to my podcast, Fes and Friends. As you know, I'm running to be Mayor of Auckland, but this podcast is my chance to turn the microphone onto my friends, my family, and those supporting this movement for a just and sustainable city. So sit back and settle in as we do this for the people. Well, I'm very honoured this afternoon to have the former Mayor of Waitakere City, Sir Bob, join us. He's not only a Knight Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit, which was named in 2013 in the New Year's Honours list, and was the mastermind behind countless national election victories, including for Norman Kirk and David Lange. But according to my researcher, he's the first New Zealand mayor to win 6 consecutive terms in over 100 years. That's quite a feat. Well done, Sir Bob.
It wasn't easy.
Many people will know your history, Sir Bob, as one of Auckland's finest mayors. And I had the privilege of naming you and not realising that you were there. So I was thinking, oh, cool, that worked out really well at the debate. But that said, perhaps we're wondering, just for the sake of those who are tuning into the podcast, firstly, welcome. But would you be able to tell us what you've been up to since being Mayor of Waitakere City?
I guess I haven't changed very much.
Yeah.
I've still been working very hard for the environment, particularly the Rangers. The Rangers bill, which we got through Parliament with one vote. Philip Taito Field came to our assistance, and we passed that bill with one vote after 20 long years of asking for the Rangers to be protected, the foothills from development and destruction, really. Yeah. And so I can't tell you how pleased I were. I mean, after you've been the mayor, and one of these days, I'm sure you will know this too, you look back and say, how did I do? Yeah. What did I leave undone? What should I have done? And I have a feeling that people will look back at what we did, and I did it with a whole team of people, a wonderful range of people that came to just move the eco-city idea, the concept of a green city, a city that looked at young people and said, we've got a future for you, hang in there, help us on its way. Before I came as the mayor, and I bought a house before I was married in Glen Eden, and I used to really like the idea of the Rangers, the walking, and of course the West Coast beaches. And after I left working on the Starship, I named the Starship, and then I thought, what do I do next? I was 52 years old. I thought, I need to do something that's important. So I went out to Karakari, and I remember catching some surf. I caught some rather good waves. And it's kind of instilled in me that there was something big to do. And I looked at the Rangers and thought, that's it. Why don't I stand for the mayor? Look, I had worked with mayors. I'd worked with Robbie, the famous, wonderful mayor. I'd written his speeches with him. I had been his campaign manager for, I think, 3 elections with Robbie. And Robbie had these great dreams, and I shared those big dreams. The light rail, of course, was Robbie's big dream, getting the sewage out of Oraki and putting it in Manukau. I think it could have been handled a little better, but the idea of sustainability, and Robbie was a great soil and health advocate. He believed in composting. He was just a most amazing man. Yeah. So I'd worked with him. Then I'd worked with, I think, one of the great Auckland mayors, Kat Tissart. And so to be with those people and listen and sit with them, you learn things. Yeah. But I thought, not for me. It's too hard work. I had 6 kids, and my wife was just becoming a midwife, Barbara. And I thought, can we do this? Can somehow we do the juggling act? This is something you will need to find. How do you keep all the balls in the air without falling over? And so I actually went to see the mayor, Mr. Corbyn. Mr. Corbyn wouldn't have a bar of me and said, no, those crazy green ideas, we don't want that. I didn't know what he wanted, but it certainly wasn't me or that. So I became so kind of, I never get angry, but I kind of thought, I can do this. I also thought that the environmental conferences that were going on in Rio,
right.
and there was that very handsome young Bill Clinton. And I thought, if Bill Clinton, who wants to be president, can go to Rio, well, I can pick up on that beat. Yeah. And so I told everyone, we're going to become an environmental city. We're going to clean up our streams. We're going to clean up our streets. We're going to get our young people working with us and for us and together. So I started to work with the schools and said, I've got an idea. It's to really make Waitakere a city that people can be proud of. I want to drop the Westy bad image. I want to drop
the Holden driver's image.
Tim Shadbolt, because I loved him and had worked for him and come up with his great campaign, Give Tim a Chance. And they did. And so we'd put Give Tim a Chance on all the bumper stickers. And I loved working with Tim. But I didn't want to be Tim. I thought, keep away from Tim, be you. And so, and then Tim came and stood for the mayoralty. And I said, Tim, why do you want to do that? He said, I need the money. I thought that's a good idea, but not good enough. In that October, I was the mayor. Wow. And I knew clearly. So
you stood against Tim?
No, Tim stood against me.
Yeah, so I beg your pardon.
Yeah. So I said, I want to do the environment. I want to link with Māori. People said, don't go near Māori.
Yeah.
They cause a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And I said, really? Why? Yeah. They said, well, none of the mayors had ever seen Māori in this council. This is Waitemata and Waitakere. They just said, no. I said, well, I do. So I went down and saw a guy called Te Warana and said, why don't you come to the council and have a cup of tea with me? Well, he brought 2 busloads. So one of my secretaries, I've only been there about 2 weeks, and they said, what have you done? There's 2 busloads of people coming in to have morning, afternoon tea with you. I said, bring them on.
Yeah.
It's just what I want. So we had one of the most amazing korera.
Wow.
We just hit it off.
Yeah.
I said, look, I'm a writer, I'm a historian, and where the hell have you been?
Yeah.
So off we went. They asked me one thing, would you find a marae for us at Te Henga?
Right.
And I said, well, I don't know how I can do that, but I will try. So it took me about 18 years to find the money, because I had some good friends within the council that said there's a parcel of money for marae, can't be used for skateboards or playgrounds or anything, can only be used for Māori, but it's within the works.
Right.
So I said, right, if it's there, I want it. I'm a man on a mission. They have that money, they have that marae, and I'm chairing a funding for the marae at Te Henga. And I look back on that and thought, what a triumph of how energy can turn itself into a positive,
absolutely,
positive delivery. Yeah. And we went to Karikari, and they had been basically patched out of history. And I said, kia ora, everyone, it's yours. I could see some of the officials rolling their eyes like, no, he's bloody well giving them Karikari. I said, it's yours. You've been away too long. Yeah. I just did that. Yeah. And I thought, well, you can challenge me. These people were here, and I just think they are our future.
Yeah.
So we started the Māori Standing Committee, Tamata Runanga, one of the first in New Zealand, and all hell broke loose because people said, no, you don't. These people have not been elected. And they actually kind of took me to court, and I had to go to not the Supreme Court, but I thought I was going to jail. So, and the judge was wonderful. He said, look, the mayor can take advice from anyone if he wants to. Yeah. And he clearly wants to take advice from Māori. Case dismissed. Yeah. And I went,
Has that been your style, the kind of style where you're out there, you're consulting with the community, you're getting as much advice as possible? Do you think that kind of sums up the kind of mayor you were?
Yeah. I would go down to the marae and see Peter Sharples and say, Peter, what can I do? He'd say, stay true.
Yeah.
Don't budge. A mayor must not move, must not change, must not go, well, I know that was a good idea last week, but I've got a better idea. People go, you're driving me mad. So I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I said, let's do this. And then I just kind of grew the council base of people. Some didn't particularly think I was on the right track. But after about 6 months, they said, you're bloody terrific. And then I just went, oh, really?
Yeah.
I think you must be very humble.
Yeah.
No hubris. I've never thought I'm good. I've never thought I'm better.
Yeah.
And so when I do something, like I did a thing on national TV on Friday, people said, oh, you were terrific this morning on TV. And I went, really? I never look. I can't remember ever looking, listening to anything I've done because you get captured and it's a dangerous situation. Once I believe in something with all my heart, passion, I will say it and do it.
Yeah.
And I think I learned that from Robbie. I learned that from other people in national politics, like Mike Moore and I became absolutely terrific friends with David Lange and Norman Kirk. So I'd worked with them and used to travel in cars and things and used to iron David Lange's shirt. And
iron a shirt
and
even?
do the shoes and say, David, we've got a big audience. Shoes are a bit scruffy.
Yeah.
He said, all right. I said, no, not all right. Give them to me. And into the chair. I had no compulsion. And when on stage, I would go, wow. He was the transformer.
Yeah.
David Lange brought us out of the Middle Ages.
Can you find, just on whether you're thinking of either David Lange or Norman Kirk, whose campaigns you assisted with, are there things that stick out? Like, are there moments where you think, wow, something really great happened on that stage? Or,
Yes.
I know I'm rattling the memory a little bit, hey, but are there things that stick out? Yeah.
Yeah. Norman had ideas. Norman had ideas. And I said to him while we were driving to Whangarei, I've been talking with Gordon Dryden. Norman, this may surprise you, but in the future, there will be a phone that is off the wall. He said, oh, bloody hell, what do you mean phone? I said, Gordon says the phone will be as big as a cigarette packet. Wow. And you'll put it to your ear and you'll have it translated in any language. And he said, really? Tell me more.
Yeah.
Tell me more. And that's 1972.
Wow.
I remember coming back from a meeting and I said, I've just seen an old movie called The Seekers made by the rank people about Māori in Rotorua. It's not a bad movie. Jack Hawkins was very famous. And I said, Norman, I reckon we could make movies here. And he said, where? I said, in Rotorua. We could make movies. We could make ancient stories. We could actually make movies for New Zealand. And I could see him nodding.
Yeah.
He was getting into his mind, yeah, we could do these things. I knew I was on the same wavelength with Norman. And later he would say, I've asked a couple of people to come back, like Bill Such, who I adored. Bill Such was the brains. And he said, Bill Such said we could probably do this. So this was the beginning of the Film Commission. Peter Jackson, by the way, at this time, is only 13 years old.
Wow.
And Bill Gates is about 15 or something when I'm talking about the cigarette packet. Yeah. I mean, it seemed not a great thing. But this is the way Norman Kirk, 50 years ago, this year, we elected him, was a visionary. And that's what I say to you. Try and seize the moment of vision. Yeah. Say, and I think that this is the way it could be. Yeah. This is the way we should think. Just get out of bed and think what you can do for this country, because I want you to do it. I want you to do this for the city. Yeah. I want you to give us your best. Yeah. Whether you're young or getting old, it doesn't matter. I have a place for you. And councils, to me, were the kind of glue. Yeah. So I never forgot that I was the mayor, that I was respectful about the job. I went to everything. I can see the way you work. And Bob said to me, oh, do you really want to go? And I said, yep, but I'll be home.
Yep.
I'll be home. So I went to everything. When I was young, I wanted to be a priest. And so I thought, well, I'm a priest now. I'll never say no. So people would say, oh, it's not been good down there, or a child has died or been run over. I'd say, oh, God, I'm going. And they'd say, you can't go, you're the mayor. I'd say, that's why I am going. Yeah. So everyone saw me. I mean, it's not as big as Auckland, but it was a city that felt someone looked after them because it was on my watch. Yeah. And when we made some problems, and I talked this morning to the 2 deaths that had happened at council, a guy in a tunnel and that poor baby that was in the drain, I bled for that, because you do and you must. So people, I think, see something in you. They see a truth. I think they see an honesty. They see a purity. And they might not sometimes like it, but I thought, too bad. Yeah. I've never tried to take back something that I said we should do that. Yeah. So I love books, and so we built 5 libraries, bang, like that. I thought that's what we can do. Yeah. We built a marvelous stadium, a terrific stadium, and I always felt that around me I brought people and gave them jobs. I did 2 exercises. It was kind of a bit strange now, but I kind of said to them, the role that I have is I am the conductor of the orchestra. Yeah. Look at the orchestra. The conductor conducts the beat, but look how he looks at the first violinist. The first violinist is my deputy. They control the orchestra. They know what I'm doing. Look at the big drums. I need some big heavyweight drums because I want to build a stadium. So I gave it to a guy called Ross Dallow, former cop, tough guy. He built the stadium. So I found jobs for people and trusted them. The mayor must trust the people that he brings to it. And every 3 years, I got a new bunch. Yeah. And you will too. And you'll go, these people I have to lead. These people I have to love. It needs that. They need to understand me. Yeah. And then I would never, ever talk about them behind their back. Yeah. I'd say, Jack, this is turning to crap. This is not going well. You know this is not going well. But I never say it to anyone else. Yeah. We've got to sort this out. We're in deep trouble. Yeah. The library's over budget. Like, what are we going to do? And he'd say, well, I've got an idea. We can do this. So I took people always into my confidence. Yeah. But I did work 7 days a week for 18 years.
Yeah, you had quite the workload, didn't you? Yeah. I mean, I wonder if in local government in your time, if there were lots of undecided voters. Can you recall
all the time?
Hey, and so how do you get people to feel like they can participate, or even just interested again, where they feel like, yeah, I'm going to vote, or I'm going to take part?
I think it's a horrific disappointment. Yeah. People would say to me, "Hey, Bob, when's the election?" I'd say, Jack, it was last week. Yeah. Oh, I'd have voted for you. Well, you didn't. Yeah. My wife had the voting paper, and it must have fallen over down the fridge. Yeah, yeah. Oh, behind the fridge. Yeah. There's 1,000 voting papers from my time behind the fridge if they ever pull it out. People need to be called to vote. Yeah. If you want change, please vote. I think the voting this time may be very low. Yeah. Because, our old post boxes have gone. Right. I'll fill that in myself this weekend, and then I'll think, I'm going to drop it off at the PH store because I know there's a box outside. Yeah. Do I know any other box? And I'm a smart guy. Yeah. No. Yeah. And I believe that we're not served well by the Local Government Act, that the National Labour go to a polling booth and we have to go beg for vote. I guess my life has been in politics, please pick me. And I've said that to people. I say, pick me. Yeah. And they say, oh, okay, I'll pick you. And I've had no compulsion saying, do you like what I'm doing? Yeah. I'd go down the street in Newland and Henderson, and it was saying, how am I doing? It's a Giuliani thing, when Giuliani wasn't Rotten, which is now, he used to walk down Broadway and say to New Yorkers, how am I doing? And they'd say, well, you got rid of those, you've done the broken windows. Oh, you're terrific. And he's, oh, I thought I'm terrific, I walked down the street with Giuliani, and I was so impressed by his relationship with the people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we'd have to do. How am I doing? Do you like what I'm doing? Would you like graffiti? When I started, a lot of people were tired of graffiti. And so much, in 92, everything seemed to be scribbled on.
Yeah.
The South was a little worse.
Yeah.
But the West, like our young kids got out with a spray gun, and wow, boy, did they go to town. And I kind of thought, well, they've been doing this for 20,000 years, really. The Romans, they did it. But I then started to give the kids that were taggers rewards. It was like amazing. I went down to all the tagging guys and gave them rings that had Waitakere City on them. And I said, what do you give me this for? I said, because I'm so proud of you. And I just want you not to do on public buildings. Yeah. I didn't say what about other buildings. And so I handed out about 120 rings. They looked like the Phantom rings, which I used to get as a kid. Yeah. But I gave them to all these guys, and they loved it. And I sometimes see these guys now in their 40s. They say, you gave me a ring.
That ring, yeah.
That ring. And I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
And I thought, so I always come up with ideas and say to one of my deputy mayors at the time, Carolyn Stone or Dorothy Wilson or Penny House, I've got this idea. And they'd go, oh, God, Bob, not another one. What is it? And I'd say, what if you do this? And they'd go, that's not bad.
Yeah. And they would be your sounding board?
Yeah. And other people too.
Yeah.
But I've never, sometimes I got a bit miffed, but I never showed that. They said, we haven't got the numbers for the marae.
Yeah.
Don't bring it up. Yeah. Do not bring it up.
Yeah.
Or we'll strangle you. It's not strangled down Waitakere yet, is it? They'd say, with you it is because we don't have the numbers. Yeah. So I absolutely respected that. They held me back and said, we want to do this, but we don't want to do it now, Bob.
So, Bob, is there an action, because your council was very driven, or you were very driven by environmental action and sustainability. We use those words today, but that's the same thing. I wonder if, on reflection, is there something that sticks out where you participated in an activity that kind of gave you a sense of this is how we can make a real difference, whether it's at a local level or an international level? Mm-hmm.
I think it's courage. I think you have to, as they say, jump the shark. You have to believe that Auckland has a greater potential than we've seen, I think, in the last 6 years. Yeah. Although there's much that I think is good. I also think that we need now to showcase the beauty of the city, the environmental pluses of the city, and I think we cannot move from that. There's a global tsunami coming around the world. That everything is getting more difficult, more complex, and more dangerous. And people will, I'm talking to the population, will say, what the hell is going on? And then they'll look for blames. Why didn't governments do better? Why didn't they not? I always felt that in my role as mayor, I would take all of these risks. Yeah. Let me tell you that Waitakere wasn't very cheap to live in. The rates were kind of high,
right?
But they saw the libraries, the swimming pools, the work that the council did. There was always council doing something in parks, in volunteers, and I nurtured them. I cared about nurturing people. Now, the city that you will inherit is much bigger. I mean, it's as big as Belgium. It's as big as Los Angeles. And so to get around is difficult. So I think you bring the people to you.
Okay.
I think you have to rethink your role. You've got the art here. You've got decent stadiums where you become an advocate for new ideas and then ask people, as I did, from around the world, come and talk to me.
Yeah.
So I was never not doing things. Yeah. Whenever I saw someone making a difference on TV, I said, would you come and talk to my council? And they said, yeah, I'd love to, because they don't get asked. And so I would build up respect and honour people that would come and talk to us.
You seem to be a person who's got really good relationships with people. And do you think those relationships made a difference to your style of being mayor?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, Barb would say, have you ever met anyone you don't like?
Yeah.
And I'd say, no.
Yeah.
There was a few people that gave me hard times,
Yep.
and that's all in history. They did give me hard times. But most people thought, they thought they could talk to me.
Yeah.
And even now, I can't have coffee in the West without someone coming over
Yeah.
and say, you don't know me. And I'd say, no, but tell me, I know. And I still would go, now, this is what you should do. My kids get when they saying something they want to talk to me, and someone say, Bob, you remember the dog that barked all night? And I go, yeah. I've got a great memory for faces, not for names, but I think I remember everyone I've ever met.
Yeah.
And go, we talked by the window about that subdivision.
Right, yeah.
And they go, how do you remember that? I don't know, but I do. Yeah, and, so I would read things all the time, and I had great assistants. When you become the mayor, you must find people around you that you trust with your life. Yeah. And they will say, I think we could be going here, but you can't do it alone. It's a lonely job. Sometimes I was desperately lonely. I thought, this is a real heavy one. And I'd go to the beach, and sometimes I'd sleep on the sand.
Yeah.
Just do that. And they'd say, what did you do last night? I'd say, well, I actually went out to the beach. And that was fine. I'd say to Barb, I'll be home later. And I'd come back and I'd sleep in a sleeping bag under the stars and think, I've got to sort this out. I've got to sort this out because nobody else can. Yeah. And I'd come back refreshed. So I had to have a me. And you'll find that. Helen Clark was very good at having a me. You can get overwhelmed by people that want a piece of you. Sometimes a big bite, sometimes a small bite. But you have to give time and just vanish, or they will eat you. Yeah. People are quite cruel. Yeah. They see you, they'll want to tear off a bit of your arm.
Yeah.
It's just nature of, if you're popular, that's what they do. And they're not bad people. Of course they're not bad people. They're fans of the way. But you have to be careful of looking after and managing yourself. So even when, right through the period, I had a couple of young guys that I'd go swimming with. Ruby Spraggan, Wally Thomas, and we'd go for a swim in the morning. I'll see you there at 7 o'clock. I'd do a mile most days. And then we'd go to the gym. And then at 8:30, I'd turn up.
Yeah.
And I'd feel, wow, I can go all day. Sometimes in the early days, I'd take my kids to school and drop them off and then go to work. Because my family, like you, is hugely important. And all are kind of terrific now. Sometimes I think, what was it like to be the father of the mayor? Yeah. But I kept them secret in a way. Yeah. My wife and I decided there's no Women's Weekly for us. Yeah. No. There's no showcasing them. They are private. And so Tim, I thought, had terrible problems because of his fame. And I never wanted to do that. They all wanted a piece of him. And that's the way politics are.
Can I just draw you, before we wrap up, on the cost of living crisis that we're experiencing at the moment? You would, in your mayoralty, you would have seen families trying to get established. You would have seen, life's always expensive. And I just wonder, are there things that a council can do to really tackle cost of living challenges?
Absolutely. There was such a range of services that we put up in council, in premises in Glen Eden, in Massey and Henderson, where we did legal services, wonderful groups of volunteers with other providers. Yeah. I would often ask people like Penny Holst, wonderful Penny Holst, do you think this? And she'd say, there's 2 or 3 lawyers that can help and give, but I have to say, housing, and of course we had leaky homes. And a leaky home just destroyed me, to go into a house that you'd smell was rotten. And they'd say, well, Mr. Mayor, just put your bloody hand in there. feel what's in there. And I'd put my hand in the door, and it would just launch. And I gave her people a house once. The house was so rotten, and the woman was so distraught. It had wrecked her life. I said to the council, we're giving her a house.
Wow.
Because our building inspectors went past that, drive by. Oh, that's bloody great. Oh, it's looking nice, Mrs. Yes. Did you get out of the car? This is like that. Oh, no. See, at one stage, councils offloaded the consent process and the checking process to something called, housing, whatever.
Yeah.
They never did it. And they said, but they respected that. And I'd go to their house and say, what did the guy say? We never saw him. And so I would say, something terrible has gone wrong with this system. And it was a big moment. We gave the woman a house.
Wow.
It was about 20 grand or something. But
Yeah.
that's how I felt that responsibility.
Yeah.
To try and resolve some of the issues. That's why I see Rotorua right now. Where was the council with all its strength and mechanics to try and sort that out long before it went on to Sunday, long before that? Come on. We have enormous power working with the police, working with government. And so I would call government or go and see government and say, look, we've got a problem. We have got a problem. I cannot have people, young guys, young women, sleeping on the railway station. Let's do something about that.
Yeah.
I moved the whole lot of Tui Glen residents to Swanson. Many of them said, Bob, we don't want to move. You don't understand our life. We are secret. We have no tax numbers, no phone numbers. We don't want to bloody move. And I'd say, why not? I'm going to provide you with housing. So I would make that effort. And I was successful and I was unsuccessful because people have the right to decide, I'm under the radar. I'm on the run. They're not criminals. They're on the run. I used to sleep out on concrete every year. Oh, God. But I thought, if I can do it, people can do it.
Ballot papers are out now for this election. And some people have already voted. Those of us who are really onto it have voted already, but others will still be in that phase of, I want to hear a bit more, I want to see a bit more. What would be your message today to voters as they start to think, right, I want to get my voting paper back in by the 8th of October, but I don't know, I'm leaning on Sir Bob Harvey here to give me some guidance.
Keep calm. Do not change. Do not get angry. Things are in the universe, if you like. Fate is heading towards you, one way or the other. But you must believe in yourself. Do not change. Be, as kind, as good as. Look, I looked at your body language in those debates, and I thought terrific. You had empathy. You talked to the audience. People can tell. They tell body language. They look at you. They get your eyes. They get your body. And they get your voice. I think the voice, and I did a lot of work on that, the voice matters in politics. People, the eyes are quite stupid, really. They see Johnny Depp, but their ears hear. So you've got to get your message across from, I mean, to the heart. So do not change. I think if I'm talking to you with advice, keep it up. Talk to as many people, shake their hands, touch their shoulder. A Clinton trick. Clinton never shook hands without touching their shoulder. Hi, hello. It works. So you've got to become a trusted kind of friend of that person. They're giving you something quite precious, their vote, their trust, for you to deliver a future, a better future. I think there's a lot of anger right out there. It's not here. It's everywhere. There's an anger in Britain. Wait to the coronation. Wait to the funeral and then the coronation, and then Britain will start winding their head back again, going, "Oh God!" Right across the world, America, I think, is just a mess, which is unfortunate because I rather like America. But these are angry people, and they're here now. They are angry. They're angry about traffic chaos.
Yeah.
They're angry about budget. They're angry about things that are not being delivered on time. Go, how long do I have to wait? And we're all creatures of habit, and we are all kind of involved. And we just think, I once loved the city, but now you've got to talk it up. Mm. Give it only a couple of years, and you won't believe it. And that's true. I mean, like the Sky Tower, it's a great example. There was riots in the street. Now we can't live without it.
Yeah.
So wherever there's something that happens that people like, before it was built, they didn't like it. Mm. It's nature. But there's a lot of things that people are not liking. And it's complex times. It really is. Mm. And somehow you've got to, I'm a surfer, you've got to look for that wave that's coming and think, this is my wave. And if you get on that wave, you'll ride it all the way to the shore.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to sum up the conversation. I've really enjoyed the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. Thanks for your time and your support and your advice. And that's something that I'll be looking towards and leaning on. Yeah. I've always wanted to be a rugby commentator. And I say to people in this interview, you get the final word. Remember the old days where they used to say, right, Captain, you've got the final word. So, Sir Bob, you've got the final word.
The final word is often the best word. You hate when you get in the car and say, oh, I wish I'd said that. Well, I just did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Love to see you.
Yeah.
See you.
Well, I'll wrap up our podcast. It's been a real pleasure having you. And just a reminder to those of you who are watching or listening at the moment that we're the Efeso for Mayor. We're out there. We continue to campaign, and we'd encourage you, if you've got your voting papers or you're waiting on your voting papers, well, this is the time to mark them out. And if you'd like to get more information on our policy platform, then you can go to www.efeso.nz. And remember, this is a campaign for the people. Thanks for joining us.